Let's head to something that is, we hit on this a couple of different times along the way, and it is something that I fear is not going to go away because it's just the nature of the beast, right? And it comes down to reporting on things that are air quote insider information or air quote breaking news or whatever it might be, and that affecting betting markets. And Adam, there are people, I guess, don't truly understand that with the we saw this to an extent years ago, and I've been in this 20 years at this point, and yeah, news would come out and it would move a point spread or it would move a line, it would do different little things, but not like right now where we're live in 30 plus states. Everything is so reactionary. We have it on our phones, we have it, it's all of everything that's been able to get done, and you can just watch the betting odds through the course of a game anywhere, and the narrative can change for a player or a coach or whatever. All you had to do was watch the MVP odds or coach of the year odds or comeback player of the year odds or any of those like that, Heisman Trophy odds throughout the course of the season. And these things are moving all over the place based off of what, someone either said or a singular game that is happening on the television at the time. And we kind of saw that play out yet again here, but this was less about what was happening on the field and more about some insider, again, air quote, information.
Matt, I think it's maybe important to talk about this in a way where we add the context that it's not just about insider information. It is about the relationships that professional sports leagues have with sports books. And then when those insiders happen to appear on channels that are sponsored by or wholly owned by those sports leagues, boy, did I make a mess of that. When you have these insiders appearing on league channels, you are looking at a situation where there is a perception that is very different. So what are we talking about in specific here? Let me start by telling you there's a great article by Mike Mazzio at Legal Sports Report right now in which he dives into the situation with Shohei Ohtani's free agency and the reporting by John Morosi and JP Hornstra that discussed potentially Shohei Ohtani being on a private plane from California to Toronto. And Morosi reported this as sources indicate Shohei Ohtani is on his way to Toronto. And what happened when that went down? When that news came out, we saw World Series futures odds, AL championship odds shift dramatically. Obviously, if Ohtani goes to the Blue Jays become bigger favorites. Yes. If the Dodgers don't get Ohtani, then their numbers go down. Conversely, well, what ultimately happened? Those odds shifted. The report turned out not to be true. And Morosi had talked about this on MLB Network. This is wholly owned by Major League Baseball. It is their channel, and it is a person who is essentially in their employ who is saying these things. And the perception of someone who works for a league that has partnerships with sportsbooks and is giving out information that turns out to be wrong, that moves the odds in a certain direction and allows certain people to bet odds that would be either more favorable or forces them into bets. I shouldn't say forces, leads them into bets that are less favorable. And then that immediately shifts back when the reporting turns out not to be true. Everyone looks at it and says, that doesn't seem right. It seems like there's a potential problem here. And could there be something much more sinister in the long run? Of course there could. We dealt with the Shams situation when it came to the number 2 pick in the draft not all that long ago. And that, of course, had the issue of Shams being a FanDuel partner. And that, of course, looks completely different when you've got someone who's aligned with a sports book. There's a lot to unpack here. There's a lot that I think is hard to get around when you talk about how the money that is involved in sports betting is money that leagues are not about to turn down. And I'm not sure anyone business-wise would ever try to tell them to do that. It would be silly. It's not going to happen. If that money is there, the leagues are going to take it. The RSNs are going to take it. The journalists are going to take it. Media is a shrinking industry. And so we have to understand that setting up guardrails for this is essential, but it's also really, really difficult.
Yeah, I kind of hate to do the throw my hands up and just say it is what it is route. but it is what it is. And the reason in that, Adam, is because, yeah, this happened to be on MLB Network, but I mean, between Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and TikTok and whatever and all this, like, anybody can claim anything. Anyone can reach the masses with anything at any given point. And so unless we're trying to tell journalists that they can't report the news, like, it just, or they can't try to break story, it just kind of is what it is. Right? It's just going to be what it is. This is a very interesting and almost, in my personal opinion, isolated incident, because there is almost no player in any sport that is more tied to a team's future odds than Shohei Ohtani, right? I mean, like, this would not, sure, if Mike Trout was a free agent, would it move lines? Yeah, but it's not a dude that also pitches, also hits, and had the biggest hype around a player in the history of Major League Baseball. So I think this is certainly something that we have to figure out. Maybe is there something that where MLB Network puts a disclaimer at the bottom of the screen that just says, like, hey, this is not reported as fact. This is just, rumor or whatever it might be. Maybe there's some sort of disclaimer to put up there, but I don't think there's, a fix if we're going to try to go that route.
Well, as much as the problem is perception, I think the fix is perception as well. And ESPN tried to address this with the opening of ESPN Bet, right? They put out a set of guidelines for their reporters and, more importantly, their insiders, because we need to make a really clear distinction here that Adam Schefter is not a journalist, right? Adrian Wojnarowski is not a journalist. Not anymore. They were at one time. They're insiders in that they're information merchants, right? Like, these are folks who are getting information either from agents or from league sources or whoever it is. And those folks in particular are market movers. And that's why when we were having the whole discussion when Adam Schefter's contract was coming up, that would he go work for a sports book? Like, that's when I was really starting to get worried, because now you would potentially have one sports book that would have information that others wouldn't. And the perception issues behind that could be massive. But I do think if Major League Baseball, for its insiders, NBA, et cetera, if they were to put out some sort of guidelines in the vein of ESPN that at least gives their journalists and their insiders something to go back to say, hey, listen, if you are going to post information like this, you need to be aware of X, Y, and Z. And that's as much for them as it is for the public, that there is an acknowledgement from inside the leagues in particular. There's an acknowledgement from them that we know this is a problem, right? Even if it's a problem that doesn't have an obvious solution, as you're saying, even if it's something that can't necessarily be, air quotes, fixed, there is a way to acknowledge, hey, we get it, we understand, and we're trying to deal with it as best we can.
Yeah, it's one of those things, man, where it's like, I understand. I don't know if the word, I've seen scandal thrown around, that we could be on the potential of a scandal, et cetera, et cetera. And again, like, as well as I do, because you follow sports as heavily as I do, could there be misinformation that could move a line? Yes. Dramatically, no. It's basically like a Shohei Ohtani. I mean, seriously, like, there's like literally 3 or 5, like, there's less than 5 players on the face of the planet in any sport that would be able to significantly move a line enough where it's like you could honestly go in and take a massive advantage on a position or something like that. So that's why I'm kind of a little more pump the brakes, I think, on this than I am on most things, because there's just not a player out there that can do what Ohtani can do to a line,
Well, let's play it out. Let's just go with a hypothetical here. And before you listen to this hypothetical, do not think that I'm operating within the bounds of reality here. This is just a complete hypothetical, okay?
Yeah,
I don't think this is going to happen. But let's just say that there were sharp bettors or a sharp group or someone who thought that they had access to get down a significant amount of money, let's say in an offshore market, right? Mm-hmm. And they had a line to an Adam Schefter or an Ian Rappaport. And they developed a relationship with one of these insiders over time and were able to eventually feed some information that Patrick Mahomes is disgruntled in Kansas City and has requested a trade. And here's his list of 5 teams that he would like to go to. And that, of course, would immediately move Super Bowl futures. It would move everything, right? Is it realistic that this happens? Is it realistic that someone like Schefter, who makes millions on his own, is going to risk everything he has based on this? Is he not going to cross-check it with someone else? No, but I think that's the sort of thing that we're talking about is, could someone try to co-opt one of these insiders who has deep connections to the league, a league that has money ties to sports books, and have it be so wrong and so very clearly fixed that you could draw a line back to how it happened? I think it's damn near impossible, to be honest with you. But I want to at least be clear to everybody when we keep saying there could be a scandal. That, to me, is the kind of thing that could become a scandal if it were to happen.
Yeah, I agree. Yes, I think in the 99.99th percentile of realms of possibility of things that could happen. Yeah, for sure. And like you said, you painted a picture that you don't believe is honestly realistic, but yes, if that were to happen, then things could be super, super wacky here. All right, let's close things out with a little bit of a celebration here. Adam, we get word coming through and everybody is getting ready for Vermont to launch on Thursday, right? Huh? Everyone in Vermont's is ready for this.
Maple syrup and pancakes for everybody, baby. We're doing this. Vermont is one of those states, much like it was with Maine, where we were kind of sitting around and waiting because the law had been passed a long time ago. And we were saying, so you ever going to do this? And, it's a fairly limited market in terms of the number of operators who can be part of the whole thing. So, look, it's a small state in terms of population. What I think is interesting about the Vermont launch is that now when you look around New England in general, you have the entire region that has become legal. And we're looking at other places, say, like South Carolina, which is going to be dealing with this at the legislative level this year. And we're wondering how much pressure is there from having legal sports betting all around you, right? And North Carolina is about to go online. That is probably going to be sometime in March. So what's the value of it, right? I don't know in the long run, but we're going to find out what it means when an entire region has legal sports betting and what that can do when Vermont launches later today.
Yeah, it will be interesting for sure, because we're looking at, I think at this point, Adam, and we've seen some of these other states, it's already happened and happened fairly rapidly, but the pressure when all of your neighbors and everyone around and all of that is at some point, the people are going to start going to their representatives and saying, guys, what gives here? Well, why can't we get something done? It makes no sense whatsoever. For those of you wondering, Vermont, the 49th most populous state in our United States of America. Adam, can you tell me the 50th?
First of all, I want to throw out another shout to Geography Matt, because I love Geography Matt more than every other Matt. The other least populous state is Wyoming.
Yes, it is. And if we want to count DC as its own entity, Vermont would fall to 50th and Wyoming would fall to 51st. So DC actually,
and
more
that's
populous.
Just the politicians, huh?
Hey, what you say now? That's just the people in the pocket of the. Oh no, I'm not doing that.
Oh
okay,
wait,
no,
whoa!
Hey, not going there. Not doing that. Not doing
different.
that.
That's the LSR plus.
That's a different. No, that's a different one out there, guys. We do appreciate you being here with us in 2024. As we said, if you just finding us, everything's free. So hit that subscribe button, give us a rating, give us a review. We do appreciate all of that. And if you're finding us over on the YouTube side of things, hello, this is what we look like. And you can hit subscribe there too. Do appreciate that. Take in all the great words for all of these stories and more over at LegalSportsReport.com. Adam and team working hard all the time to keep you informed. For Adam, I am Matt. Talk to you guys next week.